Dr. Sleep is directed by Mike Flanagan and stars Ewan McGregor as Dan Torrance, the son of Jack Torrance from The Shining. This is a follow-up to the movie The Shining. This movie is actually really hard to explain because the plot is so thick, but I'm going to try and give you a quick synopsis of what this is about. This is about Danny Torrance. He's all grown up, and he's actually dealing with alcoholism due to the events of The Shining. He has childhood trauma, of course. Any kid who was almost murdered by their father with an axe at a hotel would have childhood trauma. And he's traveling around because he's trying to get away from his past. And he actually finds sanction in this town. And while he's there, he has multiple jobs. He's helping out with this kids train that's at their local park. And he's also volunteering at the hospital, making sure that the elderly pass away calmly. He actually comes across a girl who decides to use The Shining to contact him. And this builds like a relationship over 8 years. And he communicates with this girl through a chalkboard wall. But one day, this girl decides to contact him because she finds out that there was a murder by this cult. And this cult is basically going around the globe trying to find anybody with a shining ability because they feed off these kind of people. Wow, I actually got the plot out. Good for me. So I was really excited for this film, but I was a little bit weary because I have not fully loved Stephen King films that have come out this year. I didn't like Pet Sematary. I thought it was just a cash grab. They tried to do something different, but it just came off as kind of corny. And It Too, I liked It Too, but I didn't love it. There were problems with that film that I had to talk about in my review. So I was a little bit worried because, you know, Dr. Sleep is a follow-up to one of the greatest horror films of all time. But it was directed by Mike Flanagan. I absolutely love Mike Flanagan. My favorite TV show of 2018 was The Haunting of Hill House. Absolutely love that show. It's on Netflix. If you guys haven't had a chance, give that show a watch. It is so, so good. And even a lot of his other stuff that I don't really like Oculus, I still appreciate from a filmmaking aspect. Like, if you don't like how that film transitions back and forth from the past to the present, at least you can appreciate the amazing transitions that are in that film. Might not like Oculus, but damn, is it really good in terms of filmmaking. So, I saw Dr. Sleep, and what did I think of it? Oh my god, this movie's fantastic. I actually liked it more than I thought I was going to. Like, this film is so good. This has been like a year that's been filled with a lot of sequels from the 80s that I haven't really enjoyed, and I was very scared for this sequel to The Shining, but this was a book that was written by Stephen King, so I was gonna give it some hope, and it was really good. I really, really enjoyed this film. Ewan McGregor as Dan Torrance is amazing in this. You understand why he's going through alcoholism. He is the son of Jack Torrance, and one of the main plots of that film, The Shining, is that Jack Torrance suffered from alcoholism, and that's one of the many reasons why The Shining occurred. So you not only have an understanding of this guy having trauma from that horrific event as a child, but he is the son of someone who also suffered from alcoholism, and I really loved how the film explored that. I also have to talk about the child performance in this film. Kylie Curran, I don't know what she's from, but she was so good in this. I just loved her presence, and I see her going places after this film. I don't know if she's done anything in the past, but this is the first time I'm seeing her, or recognizing her in a film at least, and I absolutely loved this child performance. I loved the chemistry between her and Dan. She calls her Uncle Dan throughout the film because when they meet up, it's kind of weird, and he's like, if anybody asks, I'm your uncle, because like, you know, in any given scenario, if a guy is meeting up with a girl in a public place, a little girl, that's kind of weird. But the film portrays it in this light where it's a friendship. They're pen pals. They have this same gift where they're able to talk to spirits and people who have passed on, and they're able to reach out into the other world. And I just really like the chemistry between Ewan McGregor and this young actress. Rebecca Ferguson plays the cult leader in the True Knot cult, and I really enjoyed her as well. Like, I have loved her in other films such as Mission Impossible, but I loved her in this as well. You have an understanding of what her motives are, even though you're not quite sure of the background of this cult and where they came from, but through subtle dialogue, you have an understanding of they need to feed off people who have the shining technique. And she's also trying to make this a self-competitive thing for her, where she's trying to find the big one. Someone out there who has the biggest shining technique, and they come across this girl, and that's how the plot thickens. This girl is being targeted by this cult, and she reaches out to Dan. There's also a lot of scenes that pay homage to the original Shining, as you see in the trailers. Like, this might be a potential spoiler, but it's in the trailer. They go back to the hotel, and there's a lot of shots in here that are very similar to the original Shining, which I freaking loved. This is such a homage to the original movie and doesn't tarnish it in any way whatsoever, and actually pays a little bit of respect to it. I think my nitpick issue with the film is this character named Billy that Dan comes across, and Billy is really, really friendly to him. It's actually a plot point of the movie where Dan acknowledges that Billy is a really friendly guy and probably his best friend. Billy is so friendly throughout this film that he actually offers Dan an apartment the first day that they meet. And it's a little bit unbelievable due to real-world circumstances. Nobody's that nice, but when you kind of find out that this is someone that runs an AA organization and he sees that there's something wrong inside Dan, he sees that he's a struggling person, you understand the kindness. So I really appreciated that the film acknowledged that kindness and where it was coming from. But there are portions of the film where it kind of gets a little bit overboard. I'm not going to go into spoilers, but basically Dan asks Billy a huge favor in the film that involves a crime that's taken place. And they have to go unravel this crime to prove that it actually happened. And any given person would call the police. Granted, the film takes place throughout the course of 8 years, so maybe he gained his trust throughout the film, but it just seems so... yeah, you'd call the police. There is something that I have to talk about in terms of the film. These are minor spoilers, so if you haven't seen Dr. Sleep, you should definitely go see the film, but it doesn't tarnish the ending or anything like that. It has to do with the fact that this film pays homage to the original Shining. The film basically reshoots scenes from The Shining and scenes that take place after the events of The Shining, where it shows Danny interacting with his mom, Wendy, after the events that took place at that hotel. They're staying in Florida, and he is actually still recovering from those events. Now, what they do in this film to portray these characters that are from The Shining, they actually use actual actors. You thought I was going to say they de-aged some people, didn't you? Didn't you, Doc? No, they actually use actors. And I actually found it kind of admirable. There's even some scenes where Danny is talking to Dick, that guy he befriends in the first Shining, and I was even in my seat. I was like, is this the same guy? Like, it can't be. That guy would be dead. Is he dead? I'll have to look that up. But the point I'm trying to make is the acting's really good. These portrayals of these characters is really spot on. The reason why Mike Flanagan did this is because he acknowledges that de-aging techniques in films nowadays, like Stephen King's It Chapter 2, takes you out of the movie. And he's absolutely right. If it's not good or it's well done, you're automatically looking at that weird face. And even if it's really well done, you're amazed by it. And you can't stop looking at that face because you're trying to figure out something that could be wrong with the face, but it takes you out of the film and you're not listening to the dialogue or anything that's happening because you're so focused on this actor or thing from the 80s and you can't believe that it's in present day. And he's absolutely right. It does take you out of the film. But I feel as though using different actors as well to portray these iconic characters takes you out of the film as well. Because you're so focused on the fact that, wait, that's a different person. Like, that's not Wendy, that's not Danny. These are different people. So what's the solution? Just don't do it. Just leave the past alone. I mean, maybe use like footage from the original movies, but leave the past alone. Did I enjoy it more than the idea of de-aging these characters? I think I kind of did, actually, in terms of a Mike Flanagan film. Because he actually uses actors from his past films in his other films, which I really appreciate about Mike Flanagan. It's like he knows his actors very well, and he reuses them over and over again. Like, that shows that he has a good relationship with his actors. And I liked how he reuses people that he knows. And I like that this is kind of like his thing, and that he has these actors that he's known for a while portraying these well-known characters. It was an interesting spin, but you are going to be sitting there in the theater like, that's not Shelley Duvall, that's not the kid who played Danny. So it's just a matter of, yes, it's still going to take you out of the film. Regardless, though, this film is so good. I absolutely loved it. I cannot believe that it was as good as it was. I knew I was going to like it, but this might be one of my favorite films of the year. It's so different. I absolutely love Dr. Sleep. I think everyone who hasn't seen it should go check it out. I believe it only made like #2 at the box office. And that's a shame because this is an actual film. Go check out Dr. Sleep. It's a sequel to The Shining, the best horror film ever made. Comment down below what you guys thought of this film if you've seen it yet. Like this video, share it, and please subscribe to Pixel Talk if you haven't yet for more movie reviews, trailer reactions, gaming content, and so on. And stay tuned this week, guys, because Disney Plus is coming out. I'm so excited. There's going to be a lot of exclusive content on Disney Plus, and we're going to try very hard to review this exclusive content this week. I know I've stated stuff in the past where like I have to review other films that I've missed out on because I went to that camp in New York. So yeah, I am working on it. I'm still acknowledging it. It's just so much stuff is happening this week, and we have to talk about Disney Plus. Thank you guys so much. I am Corbett Stuckey, and this is Pixel Talk.